52 minutes, 114 fighter jets, 19 BrahMos cruise missiles. The largest air battle between India and Pakistan since 1971. India fired 19 BrahMos cruise missiles, along with SCALP missiles, primarily from Sukhoi 30 Mky and Rafale jets. The strikes targeted critical infrastructure across 11 Pakistani Air Force bases, effectively paralyzing their air defense. A carrier group of 36 warships parked off an enemy coast, and AWACS destroyed on the ground. The fleet positioned to strike key Pakistani military assets, including the strategic Karachi port. Today, we tell you the untold story of India's Operation Sindoor. Why did Pakistan buckle under India's firepower? What sent shivers down Islamabad's spine? What nearly went sideways for India? Why Operation Sindoor signaled a 360-degree shift in how India fights? And what changed in the Indian military forever? It began with horror. April 22, 2025. Pahalgam. A civilian space deliberately chosen. The attackers were methodical. They profiled their victims, name, identity, religion, before executing them at close range. 26 civilians were killed. This was not an act of impulse. It was a signal. New Delhi did not respond immediately. It responded deliberately. The Indian Prime Minister, who was on a state visit to Saudi Arabia, returned. The Cabinet Committee on Security, CCS meeting, convened. And what followed was not reaction, but preparation. India initiated a full-spectrum strategic pause. Diplomatic channels were downgraded. Cross-border movement was halted. Water-sharing mechanisms, Indus Water Treaty and abeyance, were reviewed and restricted. This was coercive signaling, executed without kinetic escalation. Behind that silence, force mobilization had already begun. The opening strike came just after midnight. 9 targets across Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir were engaged in 23 minutes. Precision-guided munitions, SCALP cruise missiles, hammer bombs, loitering systems, targeted terror infrastructure linked to Jaish-e-Mohammed, Lashkar-e-Taiba, and Hizbul Mujahideen. SCALP cruise missiles launched from Rafale jets targeted Jaish-e-Mohammed main headquarters in Pakistan's Bahawalpur. Safran AASM hammer guided bombs engaged high-value targets up to 150 kilometers inside Pakistani territory. This was calibrated force application, deep, precise, and controlled. High-value targets eliminated. Terror hubs dismantled. EIC 814 hijacking mastermind Abdul Rauf Azhar killed. His brother and Jaish chief Masood Azhar admitted losing 10 members of his immediate family in the strikes. Indian pilots operated under strict rules of engagement that prohibited initiating attacks on Pakistani aircraft or preemptively suppressing air defense systems. This decision to accept heightened operational risk in order to confine the conflict strictly to terrorist-linked infrastructure is telling. The message was clear. India can strike deep. India can strike precisely. New Delhi called it measured, warned Islamabad against escalation, but Pakistan called it aggression and decided to escalate. What began as a counter-terror op soon turned into a state-on-state military engagement under the shadow of nuclear weapons. On the night of the 8th of May 2025, Pakistan launched one of the biggest drone and missile attacks on India from Srinagar in the north to Jaisalmer, the Thar Desert in the southwest. India downed more than 600 Pakistani drones using legacy air systems, including guns and shoulder-fired ground-to-air missiles integrated with its automated air defense control system. India struck back at Pakistan with much more fury and audacity, this time targeting 11 Pakistani air bases across the international border and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. This time, the strikes were heavier. Nearly 20 BrahMos missiles, supersonic, high-impact, were deployed in significant numbers, alongside SCALP systems, forming a layered strike package. As per the international experts on air warfare, Tom Cooper of Austria, Pakistani nuclear site near Karana Hills in Sargodha were hit by the Indian strikes. And then came the call. Pakistan's Director General of Military Operations, DGMO, initiated contact with his Indian counterpart, setting in motion a communication that would halt military operations across land, air, and sea by 1700 hours the same day. Now for the untold parts of this 4-day conflict. Why did Pakistan buckle? There were 2 turning points that prompted Pakistan to approach India seeking a cessation of hostilities. The first turning point came after the 22-minute strike carried out by India on terror targets in Pakistan and POK. Those 22 minutes left the Pakistani decision-making cycle completely bewildered. The second turning point was certain orders issued by India to all 3 services on May 10th in case the fighting escalated. Indian naval ships and aircraft had started moving to pre-decided but undisclosed locations. Those orders were not made public by India, but Pakistan knew and got the message. Pakistan was rattled. Their DGMO picked up the phone and dialed his Indian counterpart. This after substantial military losses and infrastructure damage in Pakistan. The Indian Air Force has proof of destroying Pakistan's 2 JF-17 and 1 F-16 fighter jets on the ground and in the air, approximately costing hundreds of millions of dollars. Pakistan reportedly also lost one of its C-130J medium-lift aircraft, which cost about $180 million. One surface-to-air SAB 2000 airborne early warning system was also destroyed by India's S-400 systems targeting deep inside Pakistan. Operation Sindoor did not come without risks for India. The most significant constraint was self-imposed. India chose restraint. Indian pilots operated under strict rules of engagement: no first strike on Pakistani aircraft, no preemptive suppression of enemy air defenses. In modern air warfare, that is a calculated disadvantage. It meant Indian strike packages were flying into contested airspace. With hostile radars active, surface-to-air missile systems live, and enemy fighters on standby. The margin for error was razor thin. One miscalculation could have triggered uncontrolled escalation, and then the escalation ladder. Once Pakistan responded with mass drone and missile attacks, the conflict risked spiraling into a wider conventional war. At that point, India was walking a tightrope, projecting overwhelming force while maintaining escalation control under a nuclear overhang. One wrong move could have led to catastrophe. Operation Sindoor was not just a military response, it was a doctrinal reset. Some would say a 360-degree shift in how India thinks, responds, and fights. For decades, India's military posture was defined by caution. We thought a lot, were reactive. Some said we were cowards, others said we were too afraid to take the bull by the horns. The 2016 surgical strikes in the Balakot inside Pakistan challenged that perception of India. But Operation Sindoor completely broke the old template. First, the speed. India moved from attack to execution in tightly compressed timelines. Just days. Decisions translated into action without any drift. Second, precision over mass. Operation Sindoor did not overwhelm with numbers. It was about neutralizing high-value targets with surgical accuracy deep inside hostile territory. Third, multi-domain integration, air power, naval positioning, missile systems, air defense grids, all operating as a single, coordinated instrument. The air battle was the largest in South Asia in decades, over 100 aircraft in action, fighting without seeing each other. This was simultaneous warfare. Fourth, escalation dominance. India demonstrated the ability to strike, absorb the retaliation, and escalate further while controlling the conflict envelope. The strategic messaging was clear as day. Every move, military, diplomatic, economic, was part of a unified signal. India was no longer responding to individual provocations. It was shaping the battle space. What 2611 could not do, 26 people who lost their lives in a meadow did that. Their martyrdom gave birth to India's new war doctrine: no more silence, no beating around the bush, tit for tat, brick for brick.